This is card 3 from Stamp Club in April of 2024. It's a monochromatic card, meaning one color. As you can see, I'm using just white mixed with the color Starry Sky. Starry Sky is a color that will be retiring at the end of this month. And so if you need cardstock or ink, you might want to get that before it's too late. Now I'm stamping onto 3 white squares of cardstock. These measure 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch. And I'm using stamps from a stamp set called Splendid Thoughts. That stamp set and its coordinating dies have been on the last chance list and unfortunately are already sold out at the time of this recording. Now I'm going back and stamping the second part of each image. I ink the stamp up first, then stamp onto my scrap paper one time, and then onto my cardstock. So I'm getting a lighter version of Starry Sky ink. Again, this stamp set is very abstract, and the images, even though it's a 2-step stamp set, are not designed to match up perfectly. The next thing that I'm going to do is to stamp the words on a white scrap. And then I'll be punching these words out with the double oval punch. The double oval punch is also on the last chance list and will be retiring at the end of the month. But it is not too late. As of right this moment when I'm recording, it is still in stock and available. My piece of scrap was a little bit too wide, so I needed to snip off an edge so I could fit it in and center it. Now the stamping is done and we can go ahead with putting the card together. My card base there is 7.25 inches by 5.5 inches, and I did make a score mark at 4.25. Now, I have a piece of Starry Sky there that I've already run through with an embossing folder. That piece measures 2 7/8 by 5 3/8, and it's going to go right on the front panel of the card. When I ran that through my embossing folder, I also did a white piece at the same time. The white piece measures 1.5 by 5 3/8. And the plain piece there that you're seeing I'm gluing down first is 2 5/8 by 5 3/8. So I'm placing that down very close to the fold. Once it's set, then I'll pick up the smaller strip that has been embossed with an embossing folder, and I'll go ahead and attach it to the inside of the card, just ever so slightly overlapping it onto that plain white piece. Having it overlap slightly just is a little bit more pleasing to the eye than having those 2 cut edges butt up against each other. So now when the card is closed, you've got the embossed purple side and the embossed white side. Now we're just going to use some liquid glue to attach the stamped white pieces to the Starry Sky, the purple pieces. Those 3 squares measure 1 5/8 by 1 5/8. That square looked a shade too big, so I just snipped a tiny, like a hair off using some scissors, and then you'll see that it fits better onto my square. Again, the 3 white squares are 1.5 inch square, and the purple pieces are 1 5/8 inch square. So each of those 3 pieces of stamped white are getting attached. And this card is nearly finished at this point. Since Splendid Thoughts is already sold out, if you're wanting to case this card, I would just choose pretty much any floral or abstract design that you could stamp there on your white squares. Now those squares that have the mat behind it are going to be, they're ready to go onto the card. You can see here I am attaching my white oval onto a Starry Sky oval. A little thing that you didn't get to see, I literally did not even have a scrap of Starry Sky cardstock left that was large enough to punch out that oval. And so off camera, I glued 2 tiny scraps together, just large enough to accommodate that scalloped oval. And I punched that out before I began filming. And then I was able to at least show you the white oval attached to the purple one. But it was kind of makeshift because I did have to make do with some scraps. All right, I'm just doing a quick dry fit there to lay out my squares and see where I want them. And then I'm going to take the middle one and attach it first. As you can see, when I took my hand off the card, those other 2 squares let go. There wasn't enough weight to them to keep them in place without any adhesive. And so even though I did do a dry fit, I'm going to have to finagle a little bit, starting with my center square and then attaching the other 2 squares and kind of measuring and centering as I go. All right, so I'm going to place this first one down. I did use tear and tape, mostly because the card front that it's getting attached to has all of that texture on it, so I want to make sure that it's going to stick well. But at this point right here, I am not pressing it down too hard because I know that I may need to move it. You'll see as I start finding the placement of the top and the bottom square that I need to move it slightly. Again, I'm not going to press it down too hard until I'm really, really sure that that's where I want it. All right, checking the top square and the bottom square and adjusting one more time. That final adjustment should do it, so I will press that tear and tape into place. And then I can confidently go ahead and attach my tear and tape to the other 2 squares so that I can attach them to the card front. Note that there's the tear and tape or adhesive of your choice only on one side of the square. That way it attaches only to that purple paper. You don't want to accidentally glue your card shut at this point. Here's the third and final square. I'm using my Take Your Pick tool to gently peel back the backing paper. Lining up my piece right where I want it to go and pressing that adhesive into place. All right, last we need to put that oval, and I'm going to use 2 dimensionals. And then attach it just slightly overlapping a little bit on the 2 squares as shown. For a little bit of bling, I chose to use the iridescent rhinestone jewels. At the time of this recording, they are on the last chance list. They are marked down and they still have some available. So these are on sale. Get them before it's too late. And there is our lovely card from Stamp Club.